Hey Hunter, so just wanted to ask you a couple questions. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing alright. Just having a good old Monday.
All right, all
Wait,
right.
it's not Monday. It's
It's
yeah.
wait, what is it? It's Wednesday, Wednesday.
I just get the days mixed up
Yeah.
sometimes.
Okay, okay. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to ask you a couple like interview questions, but we're just talking. Let's
Yeah,
just
we're
have a good
just
time.
having a little conversation. That's alright.
So, my first thing, how about you tell me what your early life was like? Like, how was it growing up?
Well, when I was little, um, I really liked hanging out with my brother. My brother was a super big influence on me when I was little. I remember he was graduating whenever I was starting kindergarten, so it was like he was a pretty big role model to me. Because I mean, my parents couldn't really relate to me because my parents are like pretty old. But my brother, I remember he'd play a lot of Call of Duty and stuff like that, and I just
It's awesome.
thought he was a funny guy.
He's Austin, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Austin.
yeah, he's a cool guy. All right. So, did you have any trouble with your family at all ever?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, sometimes it's a little hard to like talk to. I mean, because they're like there's kind of a disconnect in terms of age.
Yeah.
But I still love them. We still celebrate holidays and birthdays, and we go on vacation every year. We usually go to Panama City Beach, Florida.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. We rent out this like condo.
I've heard you fish down there. Is it fun fishing?
Yeah, I love fishing. Fishing is a big part of like it's a big hobby for me whenever it's in season. Normally I don't go fishing in the wintertime because it's like honestly sometimes on top of the water it's like colder because I don't really know why, but it's like always cold air blows on the
Yeah, I
river.
guess that makes sense. So, on the topic of like fishing and stuff you like, why don't you tell me about some of your interests, your passions, you know?
Alrighty, I could do that. Well, my biggest passion is probably music. I consume a lot of music, any different genre, different artists. I like the popular stuff. I like less popular experimental stuff. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just something for me to always be like thinking about, distracting myself with, and I think it's important to like ingest some sort of art. I think consuming
Yeah.
art is an important thing to do in your life just because um, it can help you really see other worldviews and the way other people's minds work.
Yeah, that's a good point. How would you say you deal with other people's worldviews and perspectives on things?
Well, sometimes, like, if I'm talking to someone that thinks differently than me, that does happen a lot, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really consider it to be a bad thing, because sometimes hearing other perspectives on issues and it can be a good thing, especially because you want to know why someone might believe something other than what you believe. Maybe you could even reflect on your own views and change. Um, I think it's important to be charitable to people and like, even if you're like, gosh, this guy's stupid, why does he think that? You can
Yeah.
still like, try to at least be like, I can see why you would think that.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you love music. I know you used to be in the band. Did you like being in the band?
I liked being in the band for a while. Um, I do remember a lot of the kids that used to be in band I used to like more, but then they started graduating, and
Yeah.
I didn't like being the like the older force in the band or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a great leader, to be honest. So I was just kind of like, all right, I think I'm done. I'm ready to move on and explore other paths.
So, on the topic of like school and stuff, why don't you tell me a little bit about your education, high school and stuff?
Well, I think education is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Even though a lot of the times when I'm at school, it kind of is like I feel like I'm not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, I get that.
But lately, I've been interested in. I'm gonna enroll in JCTC
Mm.
this fall. I got a I got the consortium scholarship, I think they were saying that it was like a lot of people from Trimble County, like 12 maybe, got it. And what that does, that basically completely pays for people's. It's like a last dollar scholarship, so it'll pay the entire tuition.
That's awesome. You know what you're like going for yet at all?
I'm going for the Applied Process Technologies Associate's degree, which it's a little bit hard to explain. When I went for a tour at JCTC, the lady was like, the three options are like welding, engineering, and applied process technologies. And the way she explained it, it's like, do you want to, and the analogy was like a bus. Would you rather be the person that makes the bus, the person that fixes the bus, or the person that drives the bus? And the one I'm going into is the one that's supposed to be like driving the bus.
All right, that makes sense. So, is it your brother who like has a job kind of like that?
Yeah. He works at PMC, and PMC is one of the companies that people who go for this degree would work at. It'd be PMC, Dow, or LG&E and KU.
Alrighty then. So, how about you tell me about some of your beliefs, your values in life?
Well, in terms of beliefs, like the way that I tend to, like my moral compass, I guess you could say, I try to be open-minded. I try to be accepting of people from where, like, no matter where they come from. I think being kind and giving someone a little grace, even if they do something that I don't personally agree with or like, I think that can make a big difference in the way that you see the world, because I think it's good to be an optimist. And I think people can change with enough effort from them and guidance. So if you're attacking someone, then they're just going to be like, well, screw you, man. I'm just going to keep thinking what I think.
Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense. All right. So, do you have any future aspirations?
Yeah, I'm super excited to graduate. That's coming up at the end of this month. I'm excited to have enough money to buy the things I want. I mean, they say money can't buy happiness, but I will say it can get rid of a lot of the stresses that you'd normally have. And I'm excited to meet whoever I'm going to spend the rest of my life with.
Oh, yep. Do you have a lot of opinions on relationships in general? Like,
well, I like to show thanks and appreciation through the little things. I've never been super good at like verbal expressions of how I feel, like compliments, and not really my strong suit, but my way of showing appreciation might show up in the way of me like spending more time with someone, offering to help them or do things for them, or little things like that.
so, have you ever had any jobs or stuff? I heard that you like do a couple like works for people, but like not a real job maybe?
Yeah, I've done stuff like, at one point my grandpa was hiring me to mow his lawn, and also our family has this like farm in Henry County. It's pretty far out. I think we got probably 100 acres, and sometimes they get me because they like to go deer hunting on that land, so they like me to help them build like deer stands and clean up around there, like trees that fall down and whatever, stuff like that.
That makes sense. Would you say that that's helped you learn a lot on working and stuff like that?
I'd say so. I mean, because half the work is like working with other people, even if they're in my family. It's sort of, I'd say that it's good for people to start working, even if they're not really getting paid a whole lot for it. That's also why I would say that getting an internship is super useful for like younger kids, because even if you're not getting paid that much, it's good to start working and to kind of get used to the idea of working, because I mean you got to work until you're 60, 70, and then you can retire.
Yeah, and with all that work, it's hard to find time for happiness, you know? And that leads me to my final question. What would you say happiness is all about?
Well, a big part of being happy I think, is doing things to make your life the best it can be for yourself, and also trying to make life good for others, of course. Because, I mean, you need to have a good balance. If you're only doing things that make yourself happy, then that's bad because you're going to make other people angry. But if you're only doing things that make other people happy, then you won't be happy yourself. So people need to find a good balance, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you for talking to me. I feel like I've learned a lot about you today.
Yeah, all right.
See ya.
See ya.